So here is the tweet that our favorite reporter from Las Vegas sent out, Jon Ralston. Here's his tweet. He said, convention ended with security shutting it down. Bernie folks rushed stage, yelling obscenities, throwing chairs. No chair was thrown. Not a picture, not a video. No chair was ever thrown. And they rushed the stage and then did nothing. What? You mean after they were completely screwing people over in public, obviously, not even trying to hide it? You mean that? And then the people got upset? The people who were there for 15 hours? They got kind of upset that their democracy was being stolen from them? They got upset? They should just shut up and take it. What's with these rabble-rousers? Yeah, so here is Jon Ralston. So Rachel, he was on the Rachel Maddow show, and they brought him on to talk about this stuff. So here's what Jon Ralston had to say about the So now you know the real story about what happened in Nevada, right? I showed you what happened. I showed you how they were screwing them over. I showed you what the concerns were. I showed you there was zero violence, zero, none. The worst they could do was say that people were yelling obscenities. That's the worst. By
the way, there are people on the Vegas Strip yelling obscenities. It's
in Vegas.
Yeah,
they're upset about swear words in fucking Vegas. There's naked pictures of women all over the ground when you walk down. There's immigrants throwing you pictures of naked women at you, snapping them in their hair. Here, naked women, naked. There's billboards of naked women going by everywhere. There's naked. The whole thing is built on gambling, vice, and drinking. And you're going to tell me they were using obscenities in Vegas?
Excuse me.
Obscenity. But then he had to lie. That's a lie. There was no chairs thrown. They rushed the stage and then did nothing. Those liberals. So here he is on Rachel Maddow, so now we know the real story. Here's what he says the story was. Here's what he says, and listen to how he says it too. Listen to this. This is a little bit unbelievable.
Of Ralston Live.
Hang on. I want to hear how she introduces him because it's kind of important.
Dean of Nevada Political Correspondents.
The Dean of Nevada Political Correspondents. We already saw some of his handiwork already. I showed you. The Dean. This is the Dean. Boy, I got to tell you, that is not an Ivy League school.
Was he Dean Wormer?
Is he Dean Wormer? I think he's more like Dean Wormer.
To be fair, in my experience, the guy that they make the dean is always the shittiest teacher.
Probably.
So in this case, it might be he was the shittiest reporter. They made him the dean. Yeah.
Actually, it looks more like Dean Jones.
So here...
That's an old reference.
Yeah, you know what? Don't be surprised there's not a lot of quality journalism coming out of Vegas. Just don't be surprised. Okay, and then this guy's the best. He's the best. He's the best we got. We call him the Dean. He wears a suit. That's why we like him. And here we go. Here's what he says.
The host of Ralston Live. John, from what you can see close up about what happened at this convention, I know you were able to go to some of it this weekend. Does the national press, do we have an accurate view of what went down there and how big a deal it was?
Well, it was a pretty big deal, Rachel, and beyond the allegations of people being cheated and chairs being thrown and violence, etc.
So I don't know if you noticed what he just did. He didn't say, hey, this happened. He said beyond the allegations of, which if you're listening casually, it sounds like this happened because that's what everybody keeps saying happened. That's what you tweeted out that happened. but he didn't say it here. He's parsing. I don't know if you noticed. He's parsing his words. I'm going to say on purpose because he's the dean of reporting.
The dean and the parson.
He said beyond the allegations of violence and chair throwing, beyond. Here's what he says. Beyond.
The Sanders folks, or at least some of them, came to that convention with the explicit intention of disrupting that convention.
Now, he bases that on nothing. He doesn't ever provide any evidence for that. He doesn't say, by the way, I know this because of this. I know this because of that. We already showed you that he's completely out of his mind in reporting this. He's got it upside down and backwards. White is black, in is out, up is down. The Bernie Sanders people were being screwed over, and they were vocal about it. They were vocal about it at a caucus. They didn't hit anybody. They didn't do it. Nobody was arrested. There's no video, nothing. But this guy, you hear what he's doing. Okay, here we go.
And by the way, that's horrifically bad journalism. To assign intent to people to say I'm inside their head.
Yes.
You have no evidence of what they're thinking. You don't report that.
He did.
I'm sure there are citations and footnotes at the end of the show.
Yeah, right.
That we can go through.
So there's the dean doing even if he was right, he shouldn't do that, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm a comedian, by the way. I'm a jagoff comedian, and I see through this shit. That's all I'm saying. I didn't go to journalism school. Nobody calls me the dean of anything. And it's
If you hear,
I can see it.
If you hear a journalist reporting on like a serial murderer, they will not assign intent. They will not say like, oh, he went into the house with the expressed intent of killing people. They'll say he went into the house and he killed people.
Yes, they'll just say what he did. They won't say yes. So it would. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. He's got more to say.
They had already sued the state party over some arcane deadline changes that was quickly thrown out. Harry Reid talked to Bernie Sanders the night before, got Sanders to put out a unity statement, but that wasn't going to do any good.
Again, he's doing it again. But that wasn't going to do any good with these sons of bitches. Did you see these people after they got screwed over? They were vocal. Did you hear what this couldn't be. This is the opposite of journalism, right? If you call yourself a journalist, which is what he does. This is unbelievable. If there was if you had to get a license to be a journalist, which you don't, he would be disbarred. That would be, but nobody would be disbarred because that's how bad frickin' journalism is, right? That's why people get their news from frickin' YouTube, because jagoffs like this. This is unbelievable what he's doing. He's got more.
Anyone who's been to any conventions knows they always argue about the rules. They call the chairperson of the convention a dictator because they don't get their way.
So he's saying, hey, this is par for the course. This always happens. This is always. So what's different then, John? What's different, Mr. Ralston?
Their behavior, Rachel, and this is a fairly small subset, I think, of the Sanders supporters, was really outrageous, even at any convention I had been. When Barbara Boxer announced that she was there to speak for Hillary Clinton, all the Sanders supporters immediately stood up. A lot of them started booing. They started screaming obscenities at her. They put their Bernie Sanders signs in front of cameras so Barbara Boxer would not be on the big screens in the hallway. There were thousands of people.
Oh, my God. They went up. They were... First of all, I in the other video I pointed out, Barbara Boxer got up there and after they had already been screwed over by, let's not forget that the Sanders people had been screwed over by the rules, by that gaveling on the voice vote. They had already been screwed over. They saw it happen. And so then Barbara Boxer gets up on stage and she pours gas on the fire, starts condescending to the Sanders people. And they're like, get the hell. So they start booing her. They booed a politician. Oh, heavens. Oh, my God, they booed her. Oh, my God. They booed her at a caucus. So, again, all the stuff he says is normal, but all of a sudden, but the booing of Barbara Boxer, a senator from another goddamn state, who's in line with the people who are screwing them over in public, and they were vocal about it. God, I've never seen anything like that. Beyond the pale. Okay, he's got more.
And by the way, they're talking about Sanders supporters like they are somehow this minority of insane people. They're 30 to 50% of the party at any given moment.
Right.
So, and instead of reporting that like they were booing or whatever the bullshit is this guy's spewing, how come nobody is stopping and going, wait a second, there's some people in the party that are really dissatisfied, like a surprising number of people.
But so that's why he had to say it was a subset, because he can't say it was all the Sanders people, because that is half the party. So he can't say that. So he has to say, it's a subset. So let's move on, because this is taking a long time.
She essentially tried to joust with them, then cut her speech short. They were not cheated, Rachel. They just didn't do their job to get their delegates to that convention. And I'm sure it was very frustrating for them. But people seem to forget that Hillary Clinton won Nevada. She won it on February 20th decisively.
So first of all, he goes, the Sanders people, they just lost. Well, we just showed you how crazy it was run. Secondly, every committee's run by a Hillary Clinton supporter. And thirdly, he said the Sanders people just didn't get their delegates to they just didn't get the people who are overly enthused about their candidate. They didn't show up. That's not true. What happened was they Didn't allow that. They said, oh, you don't have the right credentials. We're getting rid of you. 58 of them. That's what happened. They got cheated. Right? So that's what happened. And then you saw how the chairman handled it, gaveling the thing closed, not voice votes. That's what happened. This guy, again, he's the reporter. He's the reporter. He has it backwards, upside down, and he has no proof or evidence for anything he's saying, which is bad journalism. Has no evidence or proof. He's not saying this is my opinion. I don't have anything to back this up on. But I'm not supposed to do this because I'm just a straight facts reporter. I'm not supposed to. He didn't say any of that. He didn't put any caveats in front of it. You saw the horrible tweets. Anyway.
He reports hearsay.
Right. So here.
More than 5 points. And what has happened since then is Sanders' people have tried to reverse that. They had some success at the county conventions, but they did not manage to fill hundreds of delegate slots at the state convention on the Las Vegas Strip. They lost. They didn't like losing, Rachel.
Okay, so that's what he says.